Alive. Yes, we are. Happy summer solstice and welcome to the third episode of my new Living in the Light series. We're going to be talking to the gorgeous Caroline Cain today. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited.
So welcome. It's gorgeous to have you. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Cora Darlington. I'm a soul alignment coach, intuitive channeling guide, and I'm also the founder of Thrive, which is a divine feminine leadership platform where I teach and empower women really how to live their lives purely led by their sovereign souls and not following what I feel is like the heavily conditioned and flawed model that the external world would have us live. And I think, these times right now are really, really showing that we've all been living maybe a version of our lives that we didn't really sign up for. So that is my working in the world and living in the light. One of the reasons why I was so excited about bringing Living in the Light series to you and into my life actually to play, because I really wanted to talk to real women about their stories and what it really takes to be led by the light of your own soul's wisdom and guidance each and every day, which is not always easy when the noise of the world is so very, very loud. And I say real women because I think that we've all had enough of leaders positioning themselves as being the finished article when I really know for sure that we never are the finished article. And taking yourself on and living a truly soul-guided life, once you take the fluff away, can also be quite uncomfortable and quite messy at times. And I know my own story for myself. And after doing about 16 or 17 episodes, just listening to myself talk, I really wanted to play with other women, some incredible women I knew, and find out all about their stories and the catalyst for their work in the world, and and what brought them into living a much more soul guided existence. So before we dive in, I'm going to be posting into the comment box after the session links to be able to book an exploration call with me for anybody that feels to either work with me on a one-to-one basis or be a part of the Thrive Feminine Feminine Leadership platform that I run. And also Caroline will be putting some links in to spaces and places where you can find her and learn more about her wonderful work, anything that she doesn't talk about today, really. So, my love, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm excited about this. I think it's an absolutely brilliant series.
Yeah.
The way you describe it, your reasons for doing it, everything is just spot on, really.
Yeah. I think it's really, really important that we hear one another's stories and just realize that we're kind of all on these journeys together. I know that people that have witnessed my life unfolding over the last 7 years have asked me about how that has come about, and always my answer is it started with me being willing to go on an inward journey. And for so many of us, the catalyzation for that is always, or appears to be, like the dark night of the soul. It feels like as human beings we've got to go through some real suffering before we will do the important work of really truly being in relationship with ourselves. And I guess that was really what I wanted to start with you, Caroline, because we've done some work together. Caroline's been into Thrive and delivered, it's a wonderful session to my women in there. So I know some about you, but I'm really looking forward to kind of digging underneath it all and just really finding out who you are as a woman and your journey in the world. So let's start off with that. Like, what was your personal turning point?
Personal turning point. So for some people, it really is things are kind of bad, get worse, and they suddenly have a realization. And for me, it was a bit different, maybe because I was so young. So when I was 18, I was given a diagnosis and given 5 years to live, basically.
Wow.
And so at that age, like I had a difficult life until then, a difficult internal life until then. But I just thought there was something wrong with me. You think it's always, you are not good enough, you are not all these things. So the fault, the default, whatever it is, has to be something within inside you. And so when I was given this diagnosis, for me, my dark night of the soul was like, I don't know, 15 years long or something like this, because I started physically having to try to look after myself because I was so hooked on what the doctors were telling me. And especially at that age, I didn't know better. And, I was given antibiotics about, 3 times a year, if not more. I had all sorts of, bulimia, all sorts of other symptoms and things going on. And at one point I was like, I can't take antibiotics anymore. Like, you've got to actually tell me what I can do to make things better. And of course, the doctors didn't do that. They don't do that. So I started slowly, just eating. I was the healthy one just because I ate more salad, and maybe I just didn't drink as much as my friends. I mean, obviously I went through phases of that. And that's what I thought it was. But, it was hardly anything. It was literally just eating a bit more salad, maybe doing a bit more exercise, things like that. Until I was about 28. So that was, diagnosis at 18. When I was 28, I became a Buddhist. And this made me start meditating, a lot, going on Buddhist retreats about 3 times a year. Until then, I had been interested in natural health. I was brought up, my mother's French, so we used to homeopathy and things like this. But I became a Reiki master and just little bits, but still the inner realization that there was nothing wrong with me, was still not there. It was still about making myself healthy as I could be. Yeah. So then when I became a Buddhist, I was expecting things to get easier. And like you said, holy moly, it went the other way. It's suddenly, oh my gosh, like, it's a bit unfair, really. It became hard because suddenly the responsibility, the sense of responsibility that I felt for everything, then you kind of go the other way and you take responsibility for every little thing, until you get to a space where you're like, okay, there's also universe, there's life, we're not robots as well. We're not machines. We're not supposed to control everything. So I went down that way, and then I started to study natural health, nutritionist. This is when I became a nutritionist and started working with it, and then realized actually I could leave the office job that I was doing that I didn't like and understand anyway, and start doing that. And I think because I was single at the time, didn't have kids, it was easier for me to make that leap. But I was so sure I was a really bad employee. I just was a really bad employee. I mean, I wasn't overly bad. I just didn't care. I just did the basics. I don't have attention to detail, which everybody says in their.
Oh, I think I'm losing you.
And so.
I lost it.
Oh, you cut out for a minute. And so then when I studied nutrition, for me, the biggest shift was when obviously first becoming a Buddhist, second, not that you have to become a Buddhist, but second, changing my nutrition, changed my internal chemistry, which meant that I became healthier, which meant, the thinking is clearer, also meant that, thank you to the internet, I was following the right kinds of people. You really are the outcome of the people that you surround yourself with, because the language that I was hearing was just completely different than what I brought up with, like just completely different. And so I think for me, it was really, I had always known that I had a difficult internal life, and it was focusing on the external physical health part of it, which then led to the internal part, and then realizing, wow, actually the depth of what was going on inside, and then how this can be shifted, but at the same time kept extremely real.
I think as well, what I've come to realize, I've known for a while, but really coming to realize right now is that when I looked at all the Eastern traditional stuff, because that was, I went born into a Christian evangelical church setting, which was challenging, especially when they came to the teachings, which felt very different to the knowing of the God that I could feel a connection with, not one that I read about, not one that I was being told about, but just the natural sense of something greater that felt all loving to me. So of course, when they started talking about this religion is the only religion, and you burn in hell and you're born a sinner, all of that stuff, that didn't resonate with me at all. So I left that, and then slowly made my way back to more an Eastern stuff, which just felt more resonant to me, and really learning that these are vessels, these are holy vessels that hold the most precious part of ourselves. that gives me a different motivation to the way that I eat, or the way that I drink, or the way that I move my body, versus the external pressure to look a certain way and to be healthy to look a certain way. When I try to be healthy from that space, I sabotage myself all the time, because I could feel that there was an external pressure that the revolting part of me, you know, like, because I'm quite like, I'm only really learning now to embrace, like, there's a really feisty part of me that if somebody tells me to do something, I'm going to do the opposite. Like, I'm really learning that is how. So I would just self-sabotage myself because I didn't want to acquiesce to, or I didn't want to give into, I think acquiesce is the wrong word, but I didn't want to give into external pressures. But I just kept going at it for years and years and years and years until I came to the knowing that, wait there, this meat suit is really holding the most precious
I love that
part of me, right? This, I think Ram Dass calls it, is like a meat suit, like an alien suit or whatever, you know, that you just, it's housing. And actually all of my healing has got to be done in the body. So as much as you can meditate, you can kind of be up there in the ether, the work is in your body. Actually, the healing is going to take place in your body. And I think that is what you're speaking to as well, right? That the healing, everything is connected.
And there's just a couple of things that I want to say to that. Is one, that from an eating psychology point of view, unless you have a specific inner desire to do something, you are constantly going to self-sabotage. But of course, our modern lives teach us that then you have to beat yourself up because you haven't been doing it. Whereas it's the wrong way to be doing it in the first place. And the second thing is, you know, I think it's hard because we hear your body is your temple, and it can be a bit like, but it's a bit airy-fairy. But so I broke my wrist just, what is it, 2 weeks ago now. And I can't do the things that I normally do. I broke my wrist on the way to France, where we spend 6 weeks every summer. And when I'm here, like, I go to yoga on the beach, in the forest 4 times a week, you know, stand up paddleboarding, canoeing, doing all of these things that really make me feel embodied and part of my body. And really all of this, even going to the farmer's market, I can't really hold a bag and shop at the same time. So you really notice when something happens that, oh, wow, like, I really can't step out as my full self. Because my body is not in full health.
Cooperation of your body.
You've got the mindset piece, obviously, but still, my body is hindering me right now. In fully, you know, coming out and making the most of this time. So you're right. I think, you know, you've got the mind piece as well, but we need to work on the body. And it doesn't mean you have to have a perfect body. You know, I'm a nutritionist. People are so embarrassed when they invite me over to eat because they're like, oh, because you eat. I'm like, I'm human. I eat. You know, it doesn't need to be perfect. I still go out to restaurants and, you know, my kids are eating sweets and, you know, every now and then, but it's just that we bring that more of a deeper awareness around it.
And that we're more intuitive. We're more intuitive because the body's intelligence is there. The noise of the world is so loud. We have forgotten our innate connection with ourselves, I think, you know. And I noticed that. I remember stumbling across a quote once, and it was, you know, really life-changing. And I think it was something like, and I said to my body, what do you need? And she said, can you love me like this? Wow. And it makes me emotional even now because our body, if you come outside of the external noise, you know, and the expectation and whatever, you know, your whole self just wants you to be present with it and love it as it is, you know, and that be the catalyst for making different choices or whatever that is grounded from a place of unconditional love versus, you know, I remember I wouldn't even buy myself a new bra at one point until I was the weight that I thought that I should be. So it was almost like I was saying to my body, absolutely yuck. And I'm not allowing you anything nice or new that feels good on your body unless you are the way that I think that you should be, you know. And it isn't just in this. I see women day in, day out have such a conditional relationship with themselves, have to be a certain way, you know.
And this, I clearly know the difference between when I started doing that work and not, because obviously in France, we're at the beach, in the countryside, and at the beach, there's lots of people in bikinis. and who I used to look at, not in a judging way towards myself. I haven't had that. That's not been a strong, powerful thing in my life, but to observe and to admire. From literally 1 year to the next, it changed.
Yeah.
You know, the women I was looking at and saying, wow, she is beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, it was very different to who I'd been looking at all those previous years. And it really, really struck me.
Yeah. 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 Thank you for saying, yeah. I think that is the journey that we're all being guided to, because of course the soul's guidance is always love. The soul's guidance is always encouragement. The soul's guidance is always unconditional. It's nurturing, it's nourishing. It's not critical. It's not flogging you to death, you know, and learning to listen to that, you know, is massively, massively life-changing, you know, and I've done a lot of work on that. But recently I was called to sit in front of a mirror, like literally woken up out of bed and said, sit in front of the mirror. And I was shocked to witness within myself the terror. Like it was terror.
It's very hard to do. It's extremely hard to do.
I can't do it. Yeah. I can't do it. I've got no makeup on. It's first thing in the morning. I don't want to do it. And I made myself do it. And I couldn't meet myself for about an hour. Like I literally could see all of this, you know, like a saggy jawline, you know, baggy eyes, you know, looking older than, you know, I would like, you know, whatever, my belly being fuller than I would like it to be. And I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried and then in the end, what I could see in my eyes was just receiving this woman that has traveled so far and has navigated so much, and she's wise and she's passionate and she's beautiful. Like I could see beauty in the end, but a whole hour of
that's when you really see the humanity. Like it's literally you. It's a human being sitting in front
of you. As a human being, yeah. And then in the end, you look into your eyes and you can see everybody else's eyes, and you realize that we really all are the same. And then I'd like to say that that's a tick in the box, right? Because as human beings, we like to go tick. That's done. That piece of work is done. But like 24 hours later, and I don't want to sit there again. So like literally I had to make myself sit there and sit there and sit there until I learn to receive myself, you know, as I am, you know, present with myself as I am. And so this work is really, your work in the world is really important, you know.
Well, yes, and so much of our self-worth is tied up with this. This is why then, you know, I started doing this as my work, because I realized, wow, like
I ask you, like, what has unfolded?
Go on, ask me.
Yeah, what has unfolded since, like, since that extended, like, dark night of the soul, the difficulty, because again, it's never one either, it's several, and then, you know, sometimes they can go on for a long time, is the truth, right? So
I feel like it's been a lifetime. So basically, then I made this my work. You know, first I studied the nutrition, then I was eating psychology, and I'm a reflexologist as well, Reiki master, all these different things in between. And every time, actually, it was to become closer to myself. I need to learn that next level, that next step for myself. Yeah. And every time I did this, I could not help but share it. Yeah. Like I had never grown up thinking I'm going to have my own business, I'm going to be a coach, I'm going to, you know, help other women. Never. It's just I could not share this stuff because it was so life-changing and so simple at the same time, you know, because the body is really, our bodies haven't changed since the beginning of time. They still work in the same way. So there's nothing complicated about it. It is so simple. It's that, as you regularly say, it's that coming back to us, that coming back to nature, that all of that life around us has complicated and blurred. And so really, the more I did this and I was sharing this with other women, the more obviously I started being in the online world. And when I started off, it was quite quiet, but then it got more and more. I don't know what I've done, but I'm quite lucky to have blinkers on. Like I often say to people, mind your own business.
Absolutely.
In your business or in your life. And what others think about me is none of my business. So
absolutely,
whenever I have that come in, and actually my boyfriend's brilliant. He's told me something that I think about very often. He says, be generous enough to let other people think what they want to think.
Oof.
Ultimate form of generosity.
Oh, I love that. I'll say that again.
Be generous enough to let other people think what they want to about you.
Oh, yes.
And seriously, I
That's
can't tell you
my
what to
job.
think. Really? And I have his voice in my head, so often, because it's like, whatever you do, either way, someone's going to like it, someone's going to not like it. If you do charity work, someone's going to say you're great, someone's going to say you're just showing off.
100%.
So just be generous enough, like, okay, you can think what you like. It is so important, and that this helps you to have blinkers on.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think the more you actually go into your body embodied, so the more you do work on your physical self as well, the more naturally you don't look so much towards other people, because you're so into actually feeling in your body. Like, so many people don't know that they don't feel in their bodies.
Oh my God.
But when you're able to automatically tune in, someone's just had a massive mic drop moment there.
Mr. Postman.
Then you automatically are more, you're just feeling how you're moving, how you're, okay, I'm hungry now, what am I hungry for? It takes up thought space that otherwise you'll be thinking, what should I be eating? What did I have for breakfast? What am I therefore allowed to eat for lunch? All of these different types of things. And actually, even though I started off in nutrition, eating psychology, that's the work that I bring into my full-time work, which is with, as you know, with essential oils. The reason being that they are a tool that is so powerful and easy to help us shift our nervous system, which is at the base of everything. It's a whole other conversation. But the whole nutrition, how the body works, and eating psychology, mindset part of it is so important. And so basically everything that I have done since my, start of my journey has been going more and more, turning more and more to nature, simplifying, things that allow me to connect with myself when I use them.
I think there's just a whole return. I think that this global challenge that we find ourselves in right now is the greatest challenge of humanity. Is also the biggest choice point and tipping point I believe that we're at right now. And it's occurred. I want to just preface what I'm about to say with this has occurred very differently for everybody. But for a great deal of us, the going inside, like the literal going home, has been the catalyst for us actually questioning a lot, going inside ourselves. I think to look for the stability, because the stability was never ever out there anyway. But really, it's really not out there now. If you're out there looking for a sense of stability or well-being, it's not out there. You can't look out there anymore for that. It can only come from in here. And so there's like a returning back to ourselves. And I think the reality of who we truly are, which is, the old tradition is that God is outside of us. And, we might be able to kind of get to that state when we die, when the truth of the matter is we are already that, like we are already the extension of that. So it's like returning home to that reality, returning home to like the other Gaia that, provides anything and everything that we need actually, and then so I just think this is that as well.
I think it's also radical acceptance, because I'm going to say for all of us, I don't know, it comes from a feeling of lack. I am not good enough. There is something wrong with me. There is something broken to some extent, because if someone doesn't have that feeling in the first place, they're not going to go down this journey. So when we have that, really it comes down to this radical acceptance, and that as human beings, maybe actually I always thought just, maybe I'm a loner, maybe it's just me. But the amount of women that I speak to now who say, well, actually they always feel apart. They always feel they're not part of something. They're always a little bit different. So maybe it is human nature that we're all like that. Maybe not everyone is like that, but I think this is a big part of it, the acceptance of, okay, I don't need to fit in. It's okay to feel like you don't fit in. I think this is a lot of people who look at me, on social media say, oh, but you're so grounded. I am extremely grounded. My life is not messy, but I have a very intense inner life. I'm an empath, I'm highly sensitive. It doesn't mean that just because I'm grounded, and even when I'm going through a really hard time, I am solidly grounded. That is just part of my nature. But it's not to say that things are easy and the mind isn't there. Like you said in the very beginning, we can often look at someone and think, okay, they've got it, because that's the way they present it.
Yes, absolutely.
But it doesn't mean that necessarily.
I lost my dad when I was 28. Quite a long time ago now. I'm gonna give my it's like nearly 20 years ago now. And I had done none of the work that I've done since. And then my mum literally went and had like a near-death experience about 3 years ago. And, you know, to all intents and purposes, the experience was that she was going to die. That was what we were told. And of course, I had done a lot of work at that particular point. And to notice the difference was startling. So there was no underpinning, there was no rootedness when my dad passed away. You know, even that was a dark night of the soul that was a massive catalyst for huge change for me. So, you know, to say I'm grateful is a strange thing to say, because you would never lose a parent, right? But I look back at it and I look at like what it made possible as an experience. But when my mum was in that position, to just notice that, even though I was feeling all the feelings that a daughter would feel, which is grief and sadness and, you know, all of the things that travel through you as a human being, there was also a place of grace and still grounding that ran alongside all at the same time. That was my first ever experience of our duality, that you can, as a human being, you can feel so much, like all of the stuff on the surface, but that there can be this just absolute non-moving, unshakable, completely grounded sense of grace. It feels like grace and grounding no matter what is going on. And that, to me, it felt blissful, because I thought, well, that's real freedom, because that's unconditional, right? That means anything can be going on in my life, and yet I can still feel embodied. I can allow all of these feelings to be happening, and actually was really the start of me falling in love with my humanity. Because, you know,
this is it.
The falling in love, the length and breadth of what it is to be to be a human being. It's an honor to be able to feel as much as we do, you know.
And especially as women, I think so we're around the same age, you know, moving into perimenopause and all of this. I think we are so lucky, because the women who do open this, who are open, the depth of what you feel, you know, it can't be there in your 20s. I'm not saying that people in their 20s don't have that depth, but what I'm saying is that life gives us different opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, you open in a certain way. The way you open in your 20s or in your 30s or in your 40s, 50s is going to be different.
Seasons,
And with us, it's really, it just gets richer as the journey goes on. And we have to go through each stage.
Yeah, and I think what makes that possible as well is like you come to, or I have come to a space of acceptance. I used to think about my emotional or my ferocity or my passion as being messy and being negative, and now I'm like, no, like that. To be a human being is to feel, really, if you're truthfully honest, about 5,000 things in one day. But isn't it strange that our culture is set up that if you saw somebody crying in 1 minute and laughing in the next, which if you were embodied and you were allowing yourself to feel and express everything that was moving through you, that is externally what you would be seeing. But somebody may say that, well, that person's mentally ill, or that person's got bipolar, or whatever it is, you know. It really, it kind of opens all of that up, I think.
Yeah, and I think you know, everything that we keep coming back to during this chat is really that radical acceptance of humanness, of humanity, because no one, definitely 100%, when I changed my lifestyle, when I removed all the toxins, when I changed my nutrition, obviously using my oils, when I do all of these things, actually I've got a little story about that in a minute, all of these things, what was I going to say? Yes, they can give us some kind of, they improve our lives, okay? They improve our mindset and everything like that. But at the end of the day, you don't get to a certain stage of improvedness that then you don't have the humanity that goes with it. That will never go away, no matter what we do. It'll get better. Your mind will be clearer, but it does not mean that you won't. Of course, you'll have less dips and things like that, but the mind, the intensity of your mind, or the complicatedness, or whatever, won't go away. And actually, one of the things that I do is I use affirmations. And the interesting thing is, when I broke my wrist, and it was quite bad, like it, you know, it looked deformed. Immediately, literally immediately, within a second, my mind went automatically into affirmations.
Wow.
I've got a specific affirmation that I do about health, and it didn't stop until after the operation. Like, I was aware of it, I was doing it, but I was just amazed that in that moment I was still holding the dog on the leash, the kids were in the car, my boyfriend was coming, and I was already doing the affirmations. So it shows that these things that we do for our lifestyle kick in when we need them. They make a difference.
And I really truly believe, like, of telling people the truth about how it really is, like, not sugarcoating it. There is no bypassing this humanness. There's no bypassing it. There's no bypassing the things that don't feel that comfortable. There's just not.
And we all have our history as well.
Yeah.
So no matter how much work you're doing in the now, you've still got your whole history.
Yeah.
And your ancestral history that you've inherited and all of this. So
yeah. Which, if you're present in your body all day, every day, that gets easier to process. I think the issue is when we feel the things and we push them down because we don't want to deal with it, because it's uncomfortable, because in this culture that we live in, if you feel bad, you medicate. If you feel bad, you drink. If you feel bad, you shop. If you feel bad, you eat. If you feel bad, you have sex. If you feel bad, you take drugs. Just anything to not be in your body feeling the things. If you can be embodied, when those things come up and you take them to your heart with compassion and love, then the healing process is continuous, but it doesn't feel, I'm healing all day, every day, but it doesn't feel arduous. It doesn't feel like I'm on my knees. It just is that I'm allowing the things to just be as they be in the present moment. And I think, that's really important. Really important. Lush. What was the story you wanted to tell us?
No, this about the affirmations that it just kicked in.
What was the affirmation? I want to know. I bet everybody's like, what's the affirmation?
It's this lovely one that I learned at the beginning of this whole COVID thing, that a lady who works with a brain tortoise, and it's a little song, and I do it with my kids a lot. So every little cell in my body is happy, every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy, every little cell in my body is well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. I'm so glad every little cell in my body is happy and well. And when you sing, it has a different impact on the nervous system. So I was repeating that, and then I was repeating, I'm healing. Even before the ambulance was there, I was like, I'm healing, my body is strong, I'm loved. I'm healing, my body is strong, I'm loved. And then I would put in, I'm whole, whatever was coming up that I wanted to bring. But because the other one is the one that I use a lot with my kids, that was the one that just kicked in.
I love that. I love that. I've got some of my own too, and I think that it drops you down into a more hyper focused, almost like rounded state where you can just manage your energy so much better. Why I'm really interested in why singing reacts differently with the nervous system. How is that?
I think because there's a melody to it, and when you have a melody to it, it does something, calms the nervous system. Obviously when you're just saying the words, you're working on one level. Here you're saying the words, and you're having a melody which also creates
like a resonance.
No, yeah, exactly. Like it vibrates in the body.
Yeah.
And vibrations obviously work on, in the body in the same way, especially if it's a nice vibration, which that little tune is. Then it works in that way.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. I also wanted to ask you, and you've spoken to this a little bit, but like, what practices and rituals, daily ones really, do you do that keep you connected, to your soul, to your inner intuition, that allows you to be able to tune into that and keeps you well every day as well? Give us some of your best tips. What do you do?
So we live a very simple life. So for me, the noise, I can quieten it a bit more easily. I use essential oils literally all day long, because when they are completely pure, they support you on a physical level, on an emotional level. For me, it's more from the nervous system point of view. When you bring, our nervous system is like this all day long. You read something, you see something, you smell something, whatever it is. And so when we're in this state, your nervous system adapts and it will react much quicker. So you'll have less surplus, let's say. So the more we can bring our nervous system back in, like this, then your nervous system will be stronger to react to things, okay? And so that's what I do. I use them all day long for various different things. But
is it like resilience, almost like
resilience, because your body adapts, your brain adapts to, okay, you're getting stressed easily, then therefore I'm going to bring your tolerance down so you get stressed more easily, because your body sees it as a form of survival. So with the oils, it is such an easy way. You reach for these pretty little bottles. They look so nice. You smell them. They smell so nice. It is so easy. We know we're told, go and do yoga, go and walk in nature, go and do these things. Yes, but that takes a lot more planning.
Yeah.
And during the day, you can literally just reach for your little bottle and do this. It'll help your nervous system to come back to this stage. And then I do square breathing. You know, when you breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4.
Box breathing. Yeah.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah. I love that. Okay.
So those are my two main
they're your two main tips. Okay. Lash. And also you can, after today's broadcast is finished as well, you can broadcast. It sounds like I'm in the Second World War or something. Hey. After today's finished, you can also ask some questions in the comments, and Caroline, you can take a look at those for the next couple of days, can you, and see if anybody's got any questions about particular oils or whatever. And also remember, Caroline's going to be putting some links in so that you can actually reach out to her and ask her any specific questions. I know the girls absolutely loved their interaction with you, and they took so much from it. Now, you've already had one mic drop moment. I do believe that was your boyfriend's little bit of genius. But I like to ask every woman, from your own journey and every space and place that you've traveled and navigated to bring you to this place in your life where you're at right now, what would be your biggest piece of wisdom that you would like to impart? I'm going to say to a woman, but I mean a human being, really. Let's go human being.
Normally I would answer something, but yesterday I saw in my friend's shop a tiny little note that she had up on the wall, and I have to share this because honestly it's one of the most brilliant things I've ever read, and it's: normal people are weird. Normal people are weird. Because this is what it comes down to. Because this whole thing about humanness, radical acceptance, it's accepting that all these things that we think are wrong with us are just because we're human beings. Yeah.
And that we've all got such unique magic. I think that is a thing, with such unique magic. You've traveled the way that you have through your life, had these profoundly different experiences to me and any other person on this planet, and that has turned out like a uniquely crafted human being, which is you, with your own magic. And can we really, really embrace that? I love that.
What is normal? We are not weird, actually, but we thought we were weird until we woke up to the fact that we weren't.
Yeah, I love
so that. Actually, the opposite must be weird, which is normality.
Hey, the lines are so blurred on that. I've got no idea what that is.
I'm not normal, that's for sure.
Or me, and I don't think anybody watching this either. I want to honor you and your work in the world, and for taking space and time out today to share yourself and your energy and your wisdom and your insight and your knowledge and your expertise with me and with us. I'm sending you speedy recovery to your lovely wrists so that you can get out and do some gorgeous things.
Thank you. But thank you very much. It's always such a pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, so much of a pleasure.
The community.
So don't forget, we'll be putting some links into the comment box, and I will see you all next week. Have the most gorgeous week. And again, happy summer solstice. Thank you, Layla, for coming in. She says, thank you so much.
Hi, Layla.
For this sharing. Yes, Layla. Yeah, thank you so much for this sharing and wisdom. Loved listening. Also, Layla said, tell us the affirmations. She didn't just tell us them. The lady sang us them. We love that.
I'm not a singer, so that was a real special treat there.
Love it. I loved it. We received it. She says, Caroline, I love your story and passion for your work. It is palpable for sure. And then Janae, earlier on when we were talking about really learning to accept your body. She said, totally relate, and thank you for your share. So thank you to the energy of the girls, the women that joined us today, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye. Bye, Miss Caroline.
Bye, everyone.